A boy chases attention. He needs to be seen, needs to be noticed, needs somebody to clap for him just so he can feel like he exists. He walks into a room and the first thing on his mind is us. Who's looking at me? He posts, he shows off, he tries to impress, because deep down he's empty and he's hoping the outside world will feel something on the inside. A boy will spend his energy trying to look important instead of becoming important. He confuses noise with value, visibility with worth. And the problem is attention fades. The same people clapping for you today might not even remember your name tomorrow. So he keeps running, chasing more, doing more, louder, flashier, anything just to stay in the spotlight a little longer. But a grown man, he moves different. He doesn't walk into a room asking who's watching him. He walks in knowing exactly why he's there. His focus ain't on eyes, it's on impact. He's not trying to impress people. He's trying to build something that lasts longer than applause. See, purpose is quiet. Purpose don't need validation. Purpose don't need a crowd. A grown man can sit in a room full of people and not say a word because he understands that his value isn't tied to attention. It's tied to direction. He knows where he's going, and that alone separates him. A boy will do things for the moment. If it feels good right now, if it gets a reaction right now, if it brings him some kind of quick reward, he's all in. He don't think about tomorrow. He don't think about consequences. He don't think about what it's building or what it's destroying. He's addicted to instant gratification. That's why he jumps from thing to thing, from person to person, from idea to idea. There's no consistency, no discipline, just impulse. And when things don't go his way, he gets frustrated because he never built the patience required to grow anything meaningful. A grown man, though, he understands something a boy doesn't. He understands that purpose requires sacrifice. It requires showing up when nobody's watching. It requires doing the work that nobody applauds. He knows that the seeds you plant today don't grow overnight. So he stays committed, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when there's no recognition, because he's not chasing a moment. He's building a legacy. He's thinking long term. Every move he makes is intentional. Every decision is aligned with something bigger than himself. A boy wants the image of success. He wants the look, the lifestyle, the appearance. He wants people to think he's doing something, even if he ain't really doing nothing. He'll fake it, exaggerate it, decorate it, just to create the illusion. Because attention feeds his ego, but illusion doesn't build anything real. It's fragile. It falls apart the moment pressure shows up. And when reality hits, he's left with nothing but the truth he was trying to hide. A grown man is not concerned with looking successful. He's focused on becoming it. He understands that real success is built behind the scenes. It's built in the early mornings, the late nights, the discipline nobody sees. He doesn't need to announce his moves because the results will speak louder than anything he could ever say. He's patient enough to let his work do the talking. He's secure enough to not need constant recognition. A boy measures his worth by how many people are paying attention to him. If the likes drop, if the compliments stop, if the spotlight shifts, his confidence starts shaking because it was never rooted in anything solid. It was built on other people's opinions, and opinions change. That's why he's always anxious, always checking, always seeking reassurance. A grown man measures his worth by his purpose, by his growth, by the standards he sets for himself. He's not perfect, but he's progressing. And that progress gives him confidence, not arrogance, not ego, but a quiet confidence that comes from knowing he's doing the work. He don't need approval because he already approved himself through discipline, consistency, and commitment. A boy will choose what's easy. If it gets him attention, he'll take shortcuts. He'll compromise. He'll do things that don't align with who he should be just to get noticed, because attention is his currency. But every shortcut comes with a cost. Every compromise chips away at his integrity. A grown man chooses what's right, even when it's harder, because purpose demands integrity. He understands that who you become is more important than who's watching. He knows that real fulfillment doesn't come from attention, it comes from alignment, from living in a way that matches your values, your vision, your purpose. A boy lives for the outside world. A grown man builds from the inside out. One is constantly reacting, the other is intentionally creating. One is driven by ego, the other is driven by purpose. And that difference shows up in everything, in how they move, how they speak, how they handle pressure, how they treat people, how they handle themselves when nobody's around. Because at the end of the day, attention is temporary, but purpose is permanent. A boy makes excuses. That's his first line of defense when life doesn't go his way. Something goes wrong, something falls apart, something doesn't work out. And instead of looking in the mirror, he starts looking for something else to blame. It's the timing, it's the people, it's the situation, it's bad luck, it's anything except him. Because accepting responsibility would mean accepting that he has to change, and change is uncomfortable. So he protects his comfort by protecting his excuses. He'll say, I didn't have the right opportunity. He'll say, nobody helped me. He'll say, that's just how things are. And the more he repeats those excuses, the more he starts believing them. They become his reality. They become the story he tells himself to justify staying the same. And as long as that story stays alive, growth stays out of reach, because you cannot fix what you refuse to own. A boy avoids accountability because accountability feels like pressure. It feels like weight. It feels like responsibility he's not ready to carry. So he runs from it. He shifts blame. He points fingers. He highlights everyone else's mistakes so he doesn't have to face his own. And for a moment, it feels easier. It feels lighter. But that relief is temporary because the problem never actually goes away. It just waits. It grows. It shows up again in a different form, in a different place, with the same lesson attached to it. A grown man understands something powerful. Responsibility is not a burden, it's control. The moment he takes responsibility, he takes his power back. Because now it's no longer about what happened to him. It's about what he's going to do about it. He stops asking, why is this happening to me? And starts asking, what can I learn from this? That shift right there changes everything, because now every setback becomes a setup for growth. A grown man doesn't waste time explaining why something didn't work. He studies it. He analyzes it. He looks at his role in it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts his pride. He doesn't run from the truth. He runs toward it because he knows the truth is the only place where real improvement begins. And yet it stings sometimes. It's not easy admitting you were wrong. It's not easy owning your mistakes, but that's the price of growth. And he's willing to pay it. A boy wants sympathy. He wants people to understand. He wants people to understand, end his struggles, to feel sorry for him, to validate why things didn't work out. He collects excuses like trophies, presenting them as proof that he tried. But trying without ownership doesn't lead anywhere. It just creates a cycle of repeated failure, dressed up in different circumstances. A grown man doesn't need sympathy. He needs solutions. He doesn't care about explaining his situation as much as he cares about improving it. If something breaks, he fixes it. If something fails, he adjusts. If something goes wrong, he learns. He takes full ownership of his life, not because everything is his fault, but because everything is his responsibility to handle. That mindset makes him dangerous in the best way, because now there's no limit to how much he can grow. A boy will say, "That's just who I am." He uses that as an excuse to stay stuck, to justify bad habits, poor decisions, weak discipline. He treats his current self like it's permanent, like it can't be improved. And that belief keeps him trapped in the same patterns. Over and over again, a grown man says, "That's who I used to be." He understands that identity is not fixed. It's built, it's shaped, it's earned through consistent action. If there's something about himself that's holding him back, he doesn't defend it, he works on it. He takes responsibility for becoming better. Every day, every choice, every action is a step toward the man he's trying to become. A boy reacts emotionally when things go wrong. He gets defensive. He gets angry. He shuts down or lashes out because deep down, he feels attacked when faced with his own shortcomings. So instead of addressing the issue, he reacts to the feeling. And that reaction often creates more problems than the original situation. A grown man responds with awareness. He takes a step back. He processes. He separates his emotions from the reality of the situation. He asks himself what he could have done differently, what he can do better next time. He doesn't let his ego drive his decisions. He lets his growth mindset lead the way. A boy waits for perfect conditions. He waits for the right time, the right resources, the right support. And when those things aren't there, he uses that as another excuse to not move forward. He delays action, telling himself he'll start when everything lines up, but everything never lines up. A grown man starts where he is, with what he has. He doesn't wait for perfect. He creates progress. He understands that responsibility means taking action despite the circumstances. It means showing up even when it's inconvenient. It means doing what needs to be done, not just what feels good. A boy is controlled by his circumstances. A grown man takes control of his response to them. One gives away his power, the other reclaims it. One stays stuck in cycles of excuses. The other breaks those cycles through accountability. And that difference shows up and results in growth and character and how far they go and how strong they become, because excuses keep you comfortable, but responsibility moves you forward. A boy seeks validation. He needs approval the way a body needs air. Every move he makes is filtered through one question: what will people think? Before he speaks, before he acts, before he decides, he's already imagining the reaction. Will they like it? Will they praise it? Will they accept him? And because of that, he shapes himself to fit expectations that were never his to begin with. He becomes a reflection of opinions instead of a reflection of truth. He'll change his tone depending on who he's around. He'll adjust his behavior to match the crowd. But he'll say what sounds good instead of what is real, because being liked matters more to him than being authentic. He's afraid that if he shows who he really is, it won't be enough. So he hides parts of himself, edits himself, waters himself down just to stay acceptable. in other people's eyes. A boy builds his confidence on compliments. When people praise him, he feels high. When people ignore him, he feels low. His self-worth is like a roller coaster, rising and falling based on external reactions. And the problem with that is simple. You don't control other people's opinions. You don't control when they give you attention, when they support you, when they validate you. So if your confidence depends on them, your confidence will always be unstable. A grown man stands on values. He doesn't move based on approval. He moves based on principles. He knows what he believes. He knows what he stands for, and he doesn't bend there just to fit in. His decisions come from within, not from the outside world. That's why he's consistent. That's why you can trust his character, because it's not shifting depending on who's watching. A grown man understands that validation is temporary, but values are permanent. Approval can be given one day and taken away the next. But principles don't change unless you choose to change them. So he builds his life on something solid: honesty, integrity, discipline, respect. These aren't things you perform for people. These are things you live by, even when nobody is there to see it. A boy will do the right thing if it gets him praise. But if nobody's watching, if there's no reward attached, he might cut corners because his motivation is external, it's tied to recognition. If the applause disappears, so does the effort. A grown man does the right thing because it's right, not because someone's watching, not because someone's going to clap, but because that's who he is. His values don't depend on an audience. They exist in private, in silence, in the moments where nobody would ever know if he changed. O's differently, and that's where true character is revealed. A boy is easily influenced. Put him around the wrong people, and he starts thinking like them, acting like them, becoming like them, because he's looking for acceptance. He absorbs whatever environment he's in. He becomes a product of his surroundings instead of a leader within them. A grown man influences his environment. He doesn't need to match the room. The room adjusts to him. His standards are clear. His boundaries are strong. He knows what he allows into his life and what he doesn't. And if something or someone doesn't align with his values, he's willing to walk away, even if it means standing alone. A boy fears rejection because rejection feels like a loss of validation. If someone disagrees with him, if someone doesn't accept him, he takes it personally. It shakes him. It makes him question himself. So he avoids situations where he might be rejected. He plays it safe. He stays within limits that guarantee approval. A grown man accepts rejection as part of life. He understands that not everyone will agree with him, not everyone will like him, and that's okay because his worth isn't tied to universal approval. It's tied to staying true to his values. He'd rather be respected for who he is than liked for who he's pretending to be. A boy compares himself constantly. He looks at what others are doing, what they have, how they're perceived, and he measures himself against that. And when he feels like he's fallen short, he either tries to copy them or he feels insecure. Because again, his standard is external. A grown man competes with himself. His focus is on growth, not comparison. He measures progress by who he was yesterday, not by who someone else is today. His values guide his path, not other people's achievements. That keeps him grounded. That keeps him focused. That keeps him moving forward. D, without distraction. A boy will compromise his standards to be accepted. They're accepted. He'll tolerate things he shouldn't tolerate, agree with things he doesn't believe in, stay in situations that don't serve him, all because he doesn't want to lose validation. And in the process, he loses himself. A grown man protects his standards. He knows that every time you compromise your values, you weaken your foundation. So he stands firm, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs him relationships, opportunities, or approval, because he understands that losing people is better than losing yourself. A boy is driven by how he's perceived. A grown man is driven by who he is. One builds an image, the other builds a life. One seeks acceptance, the other creates alignment, and that difference shows up in everything, in confidence, in decisions, in relationships, in the way they handle pressure, in the way they carry themselves when nobody's watching. Because when you stand on validation, you're standing on something that can disappear. But when you stand on values, you're standing on something that defines you. A boy plays with love. To him, love is a game, something to pass time, something to entertain his emotions when he's bored or lonely. He steps into it without understanding the weight of it. He says words he doesn't fully mean, makes promises he hasn't thought through, gives attention when it's convenient, and withdraws it when it's not. For a boy, love is about how it makes him feel in the moment. If it feels good, he's present. If it gets difficult, if it requires effort, if it demands consistency, he starts to pull away. He treats emotions like switches he can turn on and off. One day he's all in, the next day he's distant, not because something deep has changed, but because his interest shifts, because he hasn't developed the discipline to stay steady. A boy confuses intensity with commitment. He can come in strong, say all the right things, create an illusion of something deep, but when reality steps in, when real life challenges that connection, he doesn't know how to hold it together. A boy enjoys the chase more than the responsibility that comes after. He likes the excitement of winning someone over, the attention, the feeling of being wanted. But once that phase is over, once things become real, once effort is required beyond words, he starts losing interest. Because now it's not just about feelings, it's about actions, consistency, accountability. And those are things a boy hasn't mastered yet. A grown man protects love. He understands that love is not a game. It's a responsibility. It's something you build, something you nurture, something you guard with intention. He doesn't step into it lightly, and he doesn't offer it carelessly. When he says something, he means it. When he commits, he stands on it. His words and actions align, and that alignment creates trust. A grown man knows that love isn't just about how you feel, it's about what you do. Feelings can change, emotions can fluctuate, but commitment is a decision, and he chooses that decision every day, even when it's not exciting, even when it's not easy, even when life puts pressure on the relationship. He stays consistent because he understands that stability is what makes love last. A boy avoids responsibility in love. When problems show up, he distances himself. He shuts down, disappears, or blames the other person. Because dealing with issues requires maturity, communication, patience. It requires looking at yourself and asking what you can do better. And that level of self-awareness is something he hasn't developed yet. A grown man faces responsibility head on. If there's a problem, he addresses it. He communicates. He listens. He works through it. Not perfect, clearly not without mistakes, but with intention. He understands that every relationship will face challenges, and running from them only guarantees failure. So he stays present, even when it's uncomfortable, because he values the connection more than his temporary discomfort. A boy gives love based on convenience. If it fits his schedule, if it aligns with his mood, if it doesn't require too much from him, he's there. But the moment it asks for more time, more effort, more emotional availability, he starts to withdraw because he hasn't built the capacity to give beyond what's easy. A grown man gives love with consistency, not perfection, but consistency. He shows up, he makes time, he puts in effort, not because he's forced to, but because he wants to, because he understands that love grows through what you consistently invest into it. Small actions repeated over time create something strong, something reliable, something real. A boy seeks to be loved without fully understanding how to love. He wants attention, affection, loyalty, but he doesn't always know how to give those things in return. His focus is often on what he's receiving, not what he's contributing. And that imbalance creates instability. A grown man understands that love is a two-way exchange. It's not just about what you give, it's about what you give. Respect, effort, honesty, protection, presence. He brings value into the relationship, not just expectations. And because of that, the love he builds has depth. A boy can be careless with someone's heart, not always intentionally, but carelessly, because he doesn't fully grasp the impact of his inconsistency, his mixed signals, his lack of clarity. He underestimates how his actions affect the other person, and that carelessness leaves damage behind. A grown man moves with awareness. He understands that someone's heart is not something you experiment with. It's not something you play around with just to see how it feels. It's something you respect, something you protect. So he's clear about his intentions. He doesn't lead someone on if he's not ready. He doesn't create false expectations. He values honesty over temporary comfort. A boy is driven by emotion and love. A grown man is guided by a commitment. One moves when it feels good. The other stays even when it's hard. One creates confusion. The other creates security. One treats love like a moment. The other treats it like a responsibility that requires effort, discipline, and care. Because real love isn't just about finding someone. It's about becoming someone who knows how to keep it.